That's a big fish. Or is it, it's not bottom, is it?
No.
It's bottom.
No.
It's bottom. Might be halibut. Okay, big bottom right here.
No, I feel something.
Alright, it's another day in the world. Another day of crazy. Right? Another day of crazy. What's going to happen today? What day is it? I honestly don't have a freaking clue what day it is. It's Tuesday. Go figure. Tuesday, Sarah's on the other side of the country at her parents' farm with all of her siblings. So here we are. What are we going to talk about today? Coffee's hot. Did we lose any subscribers yesterday? I don't know. You know, I kind of laugh when I stick it to the whiners. They never really unsubscribe. They just give themselves a timeout. Everybody comes back. They always come back. Now, it's funny. I was thinking about, I always think about a lot of shit. I'm going to tell you guys a story, all right? I'm going to tell you guys a story from the life of moi. From the early days. That'll help probably, maybe, help some people understand my stance on life sometimes. When I was 16 years old, I managed to land a job in a commercial fishing boat. And that was back when commercial fishermen, they were like the Mac Daddy cool guys. They made a pile of money. They had the hot rods. They had the chicks. And what was I doing then? I was tying fishing lures and packaging them for 12 cents a lure at the time. And all my money went into arrows for my bow, for bow hunting. But anyway, so literally I literally left the grad party. Left the grad party and went straight to the dock. And I think 3:30 in the morning or 3 in the morning or something. In the Inner Harbor in Victoria, BC, the southern tip of Vancouver Island. Didn't have a clue what I was in for. All I knew was going commercial fishing, and I loved fishing, right? You're going to get a kick out of this. So, jumped the boat in the dark. Apparently there's a massive storm on the west coast of the island, so we are going to travel up the inside of Vancouver Island, all the way to the north tip for the opening of the season. What an adventure, right? 17 now. I guess I just turned 17 at graduation. So, off we go. Two of us on a 44-foot double ender, so it's a point at both ends, wooden hull, salmon troller. It's filled with a couple tons of salt ice. You pack the fish in ice every day, and then off we go. All it had was a sink in it, but a little stainless sink, but the size of one you find in your regular pickup truck camper. That's it, 2 of us. And the skipper. And we traveled up the inside of the island first when we got to a place called Campbell River first day. Stayed overnight there, pulled up there in the dark, I believe. Yeah, pulled up there in the dark. Up early, a few hours sleep, keep on going. Come around the north tip of Vancouver Island. Blue bomber, sunny day. Big rollers, gentle rollers coming in from the wide open Pacific. The only thing between us and Japan was water. And then you drop the poles out, and there's 3 steel lines on either side of that boat. And they have lead cannonballs. I think 50-pound cannonball for the first 2 close to either side of the boat. Then the medium sized weights, I believe those were 35 or 40. I don't remember obviously correctly, but something like that, tapering out to like 20 pounders on the outside. So they're all fanned apart, trolling. I think up to around, I don't know what it was, 25, 30 different hooks on leaders per line. Okay? So it's 6 lines times 30 to 40. And what you do is when you hook a salmon, you bring up the hydraulic girth, you raises up the cannonball, you unsnap the snap, you snap it onto the boat, and you fight the fish by hand, you gaff them, you throw them on the boat. That's how you did it. For the big ones, we had a like a surgical tube, a ring of surgical tubing hanging off the boom right behind us, and a little wire noose on it, so that if you got a great big one, it's ripping line, you'd snap that snap on that surgical tubing. Actually, it was a little better than surgical tubing. And that huge salmon would go straight away from the boat, and you could see that thing going straight out and going stretching, getting thinner and thinner to be ducking. Because if it's like a 60, 70-pound salmon, possibly, it's just going to rip that plug and that hook out of its face, and that thing comes slingshotting straight back at you, right? You want to catch that hook doing them, and the slingshot coming back at you if it comes out of salmon. But anyway, the more important part of getting at, so you understand me a little more, if you're confused at my stance in life. So it's Blue Bomber Day, big roller waves, probably 15 footers, but just big, gentle rolling waves. And I've never been seasick in my life. And there's bells. There's also bells on the poles for each line. So there's 6 different bells. You start getting a fish, that bell starts going, bang, 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 and you leave it out there for a little bit because the excited salmon on the hook attracts more salmon. And then you get more. And then you start hauling them in. Anyway, so here I am. All I've done is fish with a fishing rod, sat in a boat with my grandfather for trout and stuff, and gone salmon fishing with friends when I could. And all of a sudden I'm catching salmon after salmon, one after the other in the sun on this boat, and I'm making a pile of money. I'm thinking, oh my God, this is freaking awesome. And then, as well, my young teenage mind, I'm thinking, this is going to be crazy. I'm going to be in a different marina every single night, and there's going to be girls. This is going to be great. Making lots of money, fishing, marinas, and girls. Right? So, the end of the first day of fishing came. There's a woodpecker testing the sheet metal aside. Okay, anyway, sorry for that. Anyways, what are the chances? Me and background sound. A woodpecker's is testing the sheet metal on the outside of the shop. Really? You hear that? Anyway. Alright. I gotta go tell him to find a tree. Hold on a second. Woodpecker on sheet metal. So anyway, the end of the first day of fishing comes. And we pack up all the gear. It's getting dark out. It's long days, right? It's summertime. It's getting dark at what, 9:30 or something? And then I'm sitting on the hatch on the outside on the deck, wondering where we're gonna go sleep tonight. And I noticed the lights on Vancouver Island are getting smaller in the darkness. And I'm kind of wondering, what's he doing? Right? I'm pretty sure we're going away from land. What's going on here? And then I sat there for a little while longer, and I'm watching, waiting for him to swing around or seeing some kind of sign of land in front of us, and it wasn't happening. And now I'm really getting concerned, so I go up to the wheelhouse, to the skipper, and I go, "Hey, what are we doing?" He looks at me, "What do you mean? What are we doing?" He goes, "Well, we can't fish in the dark." I go, "I know, but land's that way, isn't it?" And you should have seen the look on his face when he realized that I thought we were going in every night. And he goes, "What? You thought we were going in?" I'm like, imagine this late bloomer, little snot-nosed kid. "We're not?" And he starts laughing his frickin' ass off. He goes, "No, you'll be lucky to see land in 2 weeks, maybe three weeks." I can still remember the sinking feeling when he said that. I was like, "What? What are we gonna do?" He goes, we're running farther out into the Pacific so that we can drift all night and sleep." You imagine the panic I had? Then to top it off, the next morning, the wind starts screaming about 20-25 knots on top of those 15 to 20 foot swells. Waves were coming over the top of the wheelhouse, smashing me in the face as I'm still outside in the stern of that boat, hand catching salmon. No escape. Nothing. Absolutely freaking terrified. And we didn't go in. At the time, I could not believe, that's Adventure Dog below us chewing underbone. But at the time, I just could not believe the size of the frickin' waves that we were in and what a boat could actually take. I didn't have a clue. So, you imagine the terror that I was in. That's the dog chewing underbone. So, and then we fished all frickin' day. It was so nasty at times. I would hold on to the kitchen, the little stainless rail on the kitchen counter inside the wheelhouse, facing the side of the boat. And the boat would go up, and then boom, and my feet would come off the ground as the boat was going down. And the propeller, which is far underneath the stern of the boat, would actually come out of the water. You could hear it. And those green, I tried to take photos actually of those green walls of water filling the entire windshield of the wheelhouse to try to show my friends how terrifying it was. But you can never really truly catch it. There's times out there where I could not see land in any direction and couldn't see another boat. And then all of a sudden a storm would come, another one. And we wouldn't go in. I was absolutely positive I was going to die. More than a few times, I'll tell you what. But what I'm getting at is, there's no fucking panic rooms when we were growing up. Right? There's no crying for mommy. There's no sniffling and going, "I can't do this, I'm scared." You sucked it up and you got it done. I'll tell you what, man, I went out in that boat, snot-nosed boy. I definitely came back a man, without a doubt. I remember one time coming back after that first trip, and I was like, "There's no way I'm going back out there. There's no way I'm going back out there." You know, I was getting, sometimes you get 3 hours to sleep at night, and sometimes you wouldn't even sleep at all. Because we fish all day, and you just throw the fish down in that hole, and then I would have to go, I'm cleaning 400 at times fish a day. I'm cleaning every one of them, and throwing them down in that hole, and I'm catching them. And I have to go down below and pack them all individually in ice, laying upside down in rows, and then one scoop of ice in their belly. Next one, belly, next one, belly, and the checkers are called, and then another layer of ice on top, put a piece of board up, and then start your next row. And then by the time I was done icing fish, it'd be like midnight or something. And then you get to go to bed for maybe 2.5 hours, and you get up, and you go back at it again. Every single day. And then a storm would come. Oh well. Waves that would scare the living shit out of anybody. Oh well. You keep doing it. There was no cell phone to text my mommy. There's nobody there to cuddle me or hug me. And definitely no sympathy or anything from that skipper. I had to suck it up, keep my mouth shut, and do what I was told, and keep going. And then, and every single trip you go, you say to yourself, "I'm not doing this again. There's no way I'm going back out. There's no way, there's no way." And then you get that paycheck. Once you got to the dock, it's summertime, you're back into, coincidentally, where I keep my boat now is where we dropped off all the time. lots of times, and then you look at that paycheck and be like, oh my God. Okay, I'm gonna go one more time. Right? And then 3 years later. But anyway, there you go. That was my introduction to life when I was 17 years old. So you can imagine, and most of the people I know and surround myself with basically did the same thing. So you can imagine my attitude when I come across sniveling pussies. Right? And then there's a whole pile more of life after that I could share. I might write a book one day maybe and share all my shit maybe one day. I definitely haven't lived your average life. I can guarantee you that one. Now anyway, where are we? We're going to hear somebody. I'm all over here in Bobby Short when I'm here because I think I'm going back to the boat tomorrow. So, and I don't bring her book out to the boat because I know I'll ruin it. Now listen to this. This is titled George Air Force Base, GAFB 1981. Sasquatch in High Desert, San Bernardino County, California. I wonder how I did on that punctuation. Quote, Mr. Trapp, I just wanted to add to your article from the Bigfoot Encounters website dated 1997. I started wondering if there had been any sightings or reports of Bigfoot at U.S. Air Force bases in the high desert of Southern California and saw your article. I felt that after 30 years, your article confirmed the high desert sightings of Sasquatch. As an Air Force member, I served at George Air Force Base, California from December of 81 to July of 83 as a crew chief on F-4 Phantoms and knew of several episodes regarding Bigfoot sightings in and around Victorville, and George Air Force Base. Like over at Edwards Air Force Base, I had many drinking buddies from the 35th Security Police Squadron. They claimed sighting huge, hairy, ape-like creatures inside and outside the perimeter of these bases here in Victorville, California. These security police officers told me that they had made official reports because of an unauthorized entering on a military installation by anyone or anything is a priority. They told me about finding places around the perimeter where the metal fence was torn or ripped apart with large gaping holes. But one of the strangest incidents was from a security police NCO supervising a number of sky cops who had the responsibility of securing in and around the far areas of George Air Force Base. All I'm thinking about right now is how many people in the military know, right? This man told me of an incident where one of his young airmen fired his rifle, an M16, as something that came at him from the dark. The airman was scared out of his mind, and when the Sasquatch came out of the dark, he fired his weapon, not really knowing if he hit the Sasquatch or not. But he said that for over several hours prior, he had smelled something very pungent and heard some crazy howls. As a F-4 crew chief, my duties included running F-4s, jet engines on the trim pad, far away from all the hangars and from the flight line. On a night in September 1982, my crew and I were preparing to start running the engines. We noticed a smell in the air that smelled like a dead animal. It was very strong. Our tow truck had a high-powered floodlight mounted on the passenger side, and one of my crew members put light on and pointed it into the pitch-black desert around the trim pad. But we saw nothing initially. When we completed our engine run, we sat and took a break and heard something I'll never forget as long as I live. We heard a scream that made the hair on my body stand up. Everyone was totally shaken and called in our radio to have these security police come out immediately. We could feel that there was something out there. While we were waiting for the security police to come, we kept looking in all directions into the darkness and listening for any sign, but heard nothing more. We all felt there was something looking at us, like we were being watched. One of my crew, who was an experienced hunter from Minnesota, said that he never heard any animal make that sound, including big bears or big cats. He's in total disbelief. And we told everyone back at our unit what had happened. Many people in our unit said that we were either drinking or smoking pot. Because alcohol and pot makes you hear loud screams all the time, right? It's funny how many people refer to that when people see something in the woods. Kind of weird, because I know people who smoke pot. I don't. I'm just not into it. And I know some pretty heavy drinkers. They don't report seeing this shit after they've been into it for a bit. Ever. Sorry. The whole incident eventually dissipated, but I never forgot that night. Later that year, in December of '82, I was driving back home to Northern California and was on California Highway 138 about 30 miles east of Gorman. It was about 9:30 p.m. And on that part of Highway 138, there's absolutely nothing. I mean, nothing. It was a very clear night. The visibility was good. I was traveling about 60 to 65 miles. And right in front of me, I saw something big and hairy cross the freeway. I first could not believe what I saw. And in my mind, I thought it was a very large man. The way it made contact with the headlights, I could even see muscles rippling through its hair. It was not a man. It leaped across a 2-lane highway with a couple of strides. When I got to that point in the road, I stopped and looked to the other side of the freeway and just saw this silhouette moving across the desert floor. I was really scared and just drove on. And after that, when I got home, I told some of my family members and they all believed my story. I've been telling that story for years, and because of the History Channel's Monster Quest episodes on television and other programs dealing with Sasquatch or Bigfoot, I again started thinking about those incidents while stationed at GAFB in the high desert and my roadside encounter with this creature. I try to understand this creature, and I truly believe the Sasquatch's greatest strength is its intelligence. Definitely one of them. Without a doubt. Without a doubt. And there we go. Thank you, Bobby Short. She's heard again, still. So many people in the military, huh? So many. Hold on a minute. The sun starts coming around, glaring at me through part of the glass windows there. Now, who needs to be heard this morning? No shortage. Just gotta go find my notes file. There's my notes. And here is unread notes from all of you. This one's titled, Finally a Human Face. Hey Steve, my name's Danny Stone. I just turned 60, but had major spinal reconstruction at 47. Ouch. It took 13 years to get to where I can hike a mile. I do so loving every step. Right on, good for you, man. You're a fighter. When you read about the booklet from a school that is introducing kids to Sasquatch, much like yourself, and I'm sure all of us at the coffee table, the disappointment of the image of Sasquatch depicted on the page. I wanted to share a picture of a quilt my sister-in-law made for me. I was shocked and amazed, not just at the work she did, but the main panel. Look at that human-style face. No ape face. It might not show, but the Sabe shown is brought to us by the National Park of Yosemite. Thanks, Steve and Sarah, for all you're doing. Okay, man. I'm going to do this real quick because I think it works. So there's the quilt. Okay? That's the side of a quilt. Now I'll zoom in on that face. What do we got? There we go. That's a little better. A little more accurate from what people commonly see. It's a good start. I don't think monkey when I see that. Right on, man. Appreciate you sending that in. Why is it so rare? Why is it so rare that people make drawings and make them inaccurate right up the word go? What's this one? This one's titled, Isn't it amazing? Isn't it amazing that it never ends? Right? Never ends. People sending in what they've seen. It never frickin' ends. This is titled, Saw Bigfoot in My Younger Days. Hi Steve, this will be fairly tame compared to many of your readings, but it is what it is. If you read it out loud, it's all fair game to use. I'm 62 now, and I live in West Central Illinois. Some people laugh at me saying, sometimes I say Illinois, sometimes I say Illinois. I know it's supposed to be Illinois. It's like people say Missouri when you're down there, or Missouri. Anyway, I'm 62 now. I live in West Central Illinois. Dull, right? Not really. I was born in East Central Illinois, but grew up in the Ozarks, southern Missouri, and loved it. That was when I was meant to be. That was where I was meant to be. Did I read this? Why is it sounding so familiar? But in my late 20s with 2 young kids, it's not where I was meant to be. Loved the country there, but back then anyway, there was no way to make a living and raise kids right. In a place where there was seemingly a church or a bar in every other corner. We read it. Read it. Sorry. Good to hear from you again. We read it. He must have sent it twice. Who's next? This is titled, I worked Operation Serenade, putting 3 million people through Ronald Reagan's funeral. Every leader of the free world attendance. Not one area inside, outside, above, or around was not occupied by someone in law enforcement, military, or Secret Service. And that is every instance. Every. There are only 3 things. Negligence, malfeasance, or purposeful action at work here. I'll leave it up to you, sir. There you go. There you go. Like I always say, I believe we all know the answers to everything. It's just inside of us, and we have not been shown how to crack it open. But I believe we already know the answers to much. It's in your gut. It's in our guts, our intuition, our sixth sense. If only we could absolutely have a few masters, create classes and teach our next generation, even us old folk, how to be in tune now, today. That would change everything. This next one is titled, Cousin Now Believes. I used to even send you a message about my cousin making fun of me for decades about the forest people. I was the one who played a baby crying for 26 minutes, then jumped on my motorcycle and left. Well, this is what happened. First, he apologized for his behavior over the years. He was very humble and told me that, quote, what a dick move, end quote, to do what I did. He told me he heard noises out by the outhouse. Early into the night, he went to investigate thinking it was me, trying to freak him out, but he saw nothing at first. It happened again and he ignored it, or tried to. He had a few beers to calm himself, but had to pee a little later. That's when he heard branches breaking. Just one branch. Then it happened again a few moments later. He went back into the cottage and drew the drapes after his pee. He got ready for bed. He loaded the shotgun just in case and placed it in the corner beside the bedroom door. He didn't say exactly when, but twice throughout the night, he said someone or something smacked the side of the cottage very hard right by his head as he laid there. Scared the shit out of him. It shook the whole cottage. Been there. He didn't elaborate much more on that. He did say that it kept him awake until dawn. Strange noises and movement. He didn't say if he actually saw what it was, but he doesn't want to go up there alone anymore. He's been trying to get me to go up with him and my dogs, male and female Dobermans, but I'm too busy at this time of year, summertime. I told him I'll consider it September after the kids go back to school. Needless to say, I'm a little nervous to go up there at that time. Fall seems to be a very active time for sightings, and quite frankly, I'm not sure I want to go. It's been 20 plus years since I have spent the night there. It scares the crap out of me still. Thanks for all the new information I have learned from your channel. Big respect to you for going out as much as you do. You're a beast. Your pal, Moss. P.S. I'll let you know of any developments if I go. My thoughts and prayers for Edgar and his family and yours. Cheers. Sorry if it's difficult to read. Here's some. Commas. Knock my ass off. Okay, man. Gotcha, it's easy to read. I don't know what to say to people who are scared shitless of anything. I know one thing, and here's a real good example of intuition going against it. You guys remember that Timothy Treadwell or something like that, that ex-heroin addict psychopath from Los Angeles? And he went to Alaska and started playing with the brown bears and talking to them like he was having conversations with them and they were his roommates. And he forced his girlfriend at the time to go there with him. And she was terrified and thought she was going to get killed by one of the bears. Her guts were screaming at her to not go there with him. She didn't want to go. But he coerced her and made her go. And she ended up getting killed by the brown bear alongside him. So that, for me, is a great example, unfortunate, sad example, of going against your intuition. You lose every time, right? You lose every time. So, I mean, I try to encourage people to go out in the woods anyway, take baby steps, but go with your gut. So for you, it scares the shit out of you still to go up there? Oh, I get it. Believe me, I get it. Would I encourage you to go anyway? Nope. Not knowing what I know about my intuition. If your gut's telling you, don't go up there, don't go up there. Right? There's a difference though. There's a difference between being terrified and nervous or cautious. You know, some of us will get a strong feeling this is a bad time to go out there. Sometimes I've had bad feelings about going offshore to go halibut. I just got a bad feeling today's not a good day. I'm not going. Right? It doesn't mean don't ever do that again, but I'll just get that odd feeling that I probably shouldn't do this today or there, and I go with it. Right down to coming home. Sometimes we come home from the coast. When we come home to St. Nanaimo, and there's two ways on the highway. You can go all the way through high-speed highway, or you can cut a left and bypass a chunk of that and take a shorter, bit of a longer drive, but slower paced drive through a town called Coombs. And sometimes my gut tells me, get off this highway and take the Coombs route back. Okay, that's what I'm doing. You know what I mean? So I'm just saying, if your gut's telling you not to go up there, don't go. If you're just nervous, that's okay. I get nervous when I go, is it nervous? Especially when I'm hunting my black-tailed deer in November, late November here on the mainland in what I consider is Sasquatch Central, and it is. I get nervous every time I leave the truck to a point, but it's not debilitating. The level of nervousness I get doesn't stop me from doing it, but it's such a high probability that I'm probably going to get a face-to-face there again. Excuse me. I'm chanting to myself every single time I go, not today. It's not today. Just please leave me alone. Let me hike in the dark. And I'm hiking in the pitch black dark in the big timber by myself. Sometimes an hour, sometimes two, usually an hour and a half just to get to where I want to be when the sun comes up. And then I take my backpack off. I change out of my sweaty t-shirt to my clean, fresh one, pull up my coffee, and I just sit nuzzled up to a rock and tree and I wait until I can see. I'll tell you what, it wasn't easy to do that for me for a long time. But you can't quit, right? You can't quit, can't be a pussy. So, and I get angry at myself if I get scared. I get angry at myself for being scared of anything. So if I get a little nervous, scared of something, it's just me. Then I smash forward and do it anyway. More times than not, just to crush that fright, right? I can't stand that we've been built with fright. Okay, I'm babbling. Second coffee's kicking right in. Just go with your gut, man. Don't let anyone pressure you to do anything either. Ever. What's this? This is a frickin' book. Holy. Tomorrow, hopefully. What's this one? This is a freaking book and a half, too. What are the chances? 2 in a row? What's this one? This one's fairly short. I don't even know. I never time how long we sit here. I just automatically shut down. And it's usually like an hour on the minute. Isn't that crazy? Just some thoughts. You cannot name the folks I'm mentioning, or just read as is. I say this because they all have a following. I love your work, but I want you to think about this. What if they aren't protecting Bigfoot from us or us from Bigfoot, but rather protecting us from the idea of how free they are, yet extremely human-like? And also, the more we learned about the Bigfoot, the more we would understand the universe, our place in it, and become harder to control. I think you hit the nail on the head there. Steve, I've studied the Bigfoot phenomena along with all other subjects too taboo for the normal folk. I want to mention a few things that have stuck with me over the years that I believe help paint a bigger picture. Blank blank, a former head of blank blank, later in life spoke of consciousness being a key to interstellar and interdimensional travel. He is quoted with saying, "We have the technology to take ET home," and always spoke of these topics as one thing and not separate theories. Secondly is blank blank. You said not to name the names, right? Secondly is blank blank. You must research if you're not familiar. He recently did a 6-hour podcast. God, who could sit through 6 hours in a row? He is the world's most reliable remote viewer and has trained himself to leave his body. 17 different intelligence agencies since the 60s have sought out his service to find missing people, hostages, submarines, and any other clandestine operations in real time. He once did a reading and said we are, in fact, the extraterrestrials, descendants from very tall beings who escaped Mars. But he also speaks to the original inhabitants of planet Earth who have mastered how to stay hidden and who have a vast understanding of our world and universe. Many, many times craft we see or lights darting about the forest are the original Earthlings. I've heard many Bigfoot stories that also included moving blue or various lights before or after they appear. What if Bigfoot are these original Earthlings? Also, blank, also doesn't differentiate between the numerous paranormal, supernatural, Bigfoot, of UFO topics. They're all the same to him. Thirdly, Tucker recently spoke about the supernatural and he said something profound. Why is everything hidden from us? Why? What if we realize that all these things are true and we are a part of it? What if we can control our world like the Bigfoot do, switching between realities, mastering our consciousness, traveling anywhere and manifesting anything we want? What if we already possess all the answers? We just have to unlock our potential. That's why realizing the truth about Bigfoot would be a game changer. We would understand our place, and the elite of this world would no longer have power over us. Anyways, I think everything's connected. Consciousness is a big puzzle piece, as is frequency. Good luck, love your stuff. Just some stuff to consider. My thoughts exactly. Bob Moshe wouldn't say exactly, but I'm right there with you, man. Without a doubt. Everything kept from us. Everything kept from us is meant to keep us as honeybees making the honey, right? Worker bees making the honey. I mean, we're allowed to do a lot of fun shit to an extent, but every single thing we do depends on us making honey, right? We're not allowed to do much more unless we're making honey, right? It's true. Or anyway. Seems like time's flying. Do I got time for another one? Keep the wheels turning, right? That's the whole point of everybody coming here and hanging out for coffee in the morning, is to keep each other's wheels turning independently. And don't quit trying to figure shit out. Don't quit. Okay, what's this one? I'm going to mark this as red. These are all recent, I hope. Except for the odd one that gets sent in twice and lost in the mix, and that comes out again. My life experiences and some oral history. Hi, Steve. My name is Leslie Rogers. You could absolutely use my name. My give a damn busted a long time ago. My give a damn busted a long time ago. LO, that's a good one. I want to start with something that happens to me, and I believe it is one thing that people do not realize they can do. For years, I've been having what people called vivid or lucid dreams. I started to notice when I was in middle school that I would have an overwhelming sense of deja vu. When I started thinking about it, I would remember that I had a dream about the exact scenario. This actually still happens to this day. One thing I'd like to tell everyone is that if you are dreaming and you can actually feel someone touching you, then it's probably not a dream. I've known for a while that I astral project in my sleep. Astral projection is when your subconscious or soul leaves your body and travels wherever it wants. Some people can do this on command, like for instance, the people who do remote viewing. I know it's hard to accept, but it does happen. A couple months ago, I had a really wild experience. I went to sleep, and the next thing I know, it was like I was pulled back into my body forcefully. I opened my eyes, and I could see the side of the room I was facing as clear as if I was sitting up looking at it. But the weird thing was, I knew I was still asleep physically. I mean, my subconscious was awake and aware, but my physical body was still asleep. As I looked back toward a shelf that I have in my room, I saw an entity standing there. It was about 4 or 4.5 feet tall, no face or features. It was like a shadow of a human form. The weirdest thing about it was that all through its form looked like you were looking at a whirlpool. It was swirling. I was startled, of course. I moved, and when I did, it lunged and put its hand on my shoulders. I could not move the top half of my body or speak. I finally managed to get out, quote, "Get off me in the name of Jesus now," end quote, and it let go and disappeared. I definitely know I was not dreaming. I can still remember in great detail. I have heard that the forest people can enter your house whenever they want and can change their shape. I wonder if that is what it was. Another experience that I have had is, again, I was in bed, but this time I had just laid down and I felt a large hand on my left shoulder. I felt like a cool electric tingling on my skin. That feeling lasted for about 10 minutes or so and then went away. I have had experiences like this since I was a child. There's something to this. I believe we are capable of many things that most people could not accept. On another note, have you ever heard of Lovelock Cave? It is located near Lovelock, Nevada in the U.S., and it has a very interesting history told by the Northern Paiute tribe. According to them, the Sea-Taka, pronounced Sea-Taka, fought a war with ferocious red-haired giants that had been taking and eating their people. Eventually, the giants were chased into a cave. The warriors then proceeded to pile up brush at the mouth of the cave and set it on fire, killing the giants. Another interesting oral history from the Cherokee people talks about a demon in the woods, told by a Cherokee war chief named Stalking Turkey. Where I am from, it relates to the Wampus Cat legend. It basically says that a warrior, great fellow, heard screaming in the woods and set out one day to kill the creature, but was surprised by Iwa and was driven mad. So the wife Running Deer went to the Adawihis Charity conjurers and told them she planned to avenge her husband by killing the Iwa. They listened to her plan, but before she went out, they purified her spirit and gave her a magical mask made from the face of a wildcat to wear to protect her from the Iwa. They told her not to let the Iwa catch her unaware, that his greatest weapon was surprise, and that she must catch him, trick him, and see him first. That was the only way to defeat him. When she found him, he was by the river. She described him as massive, dark, hairy, and nearly 12 feet tall, with a massive face, red eyes, and a mouth full of pointed teeth, dripping with saliva, and a very startled look. She screamed, as loud and scary as she could. Then the Iwa screamed again, rolled on the ground as if in pain, then took off running into the woods, crashing through the trees and underbrush. This all sounds really familiar, doesn't it? I thought you might like to hear these stories. If anyone has had a similar experience to what I shared, please let me know. Thanks. Thank you for all you do. We love you, Sarah Ruby. Leslie Rogers from Virginia. Leslie, appreciate you saying that in. And I'm not going to be surprised if somebody has experienced what you've experienced, and they're probably going to comment about it in the comment section below. I'm guessing. I don't have much I can add to that, what you experienced, but I do know one time, it still stands up pretty clear. How long ago? I don't know. 14 years ago or something. I vividly recall I would dread having any kind of a daytime nap. Because if I ever did, and I never really ever do, even when I'm guiding, I never did when I was guiding either. Because a lot of people, when you're guiding in the mountains, you ride for an hour in the morning or two, and then you hike, get up to a vantage point, and the second you sit down after day 2 or 3 of a hunt, your hunter passes out every time he sits down, just exhausted. Dunk. If you bring another wrangler. And a lot of guides always would ride, hike, glass, and then get your afternoon naps in. Standard procedure. I could never do it. I just sit there with binoculars and I don't stop. I could never do my afternoon naps. But anyways, what I'm getting at is there was a state of consciousness, I guess, from being asleep to waking up, and I would have this very, very intense feeling of absolute dread. Like, very disturbing. I don't know what caused it. I mean, I'll have the odd nap on the boat now, but I haven't had that feeling for a little while now. But I had it quite a few times, to the point if I ever fell asleep on the couch by accident in the afternoon during daytime, as soon as I started to wake up, it was just absolute frickin' dread. Sadness and dread? Dread? I don't know how to explain it, but it was pretty frickin' alarming, to the point, I'm not sleeping. Weird, right? I don't know what was up with that. Haven't a clue. Anyway, there we go. There's another entry for today. The coffee table, I gotta leave. What else? Sarah's. I don't know where her other decals went. I think whenever she's on to me, when I take stuff and bring it out here into my man cave, she slips in here and takes it back. She ships it out to you guys, so. These are her current creations, and they're pretty freaking cool, right? And they're in the links below if you want them. I'm still waiting for somebody to share with us their experience of someone asking them what that decal's about. Decal, sticker, decal. However, whatever you want to refer to it as. I'm looking forward to hearing a conversation, because it's gonna happen. Or somebody just hasn't gotten around to sharing it yet. Somebody is gonna be asked about that. And the person that asks them is either going to tell them a story they have, or they're going to tell them a story of somebody they know. Guaranteed, 100%. There you go. Everybody have an absolute awesome day. Think for yourself and make sure you do what you love to do. All right? Make plans to do what you love to do. Because if you don't, you're a loser. If you stop doing what you love to do, you're losing. Unless, of course, it's physical. Well, it's nothing. You get away from that. That's not being a loser. That's just shitty luck. There we go. I'll be back tomorrow. Might be from the woods, the coast, I don't know, but I'll be back. Later.